And in the beginning, God gave your body a checklist. Keep your heart on beat and your lungs dancing with oxygen, not passive to air. Make sure the path of your blood slows down for checkpoints and avoids bumps in the road. Train your nerves to keep a balanced pace and stay within the lines of steady flow. Push forward without putting too much pressure on movement. Remember to return to water when your spirit and its frame are in drought. Treat your body like a well-rounded planet built for all seasons, or pretend you are an adaptable star. Float in the black and stay there if you need to. Save some light for yourself. In other words, rest. Rest like the sun does. Schedule some time to stay out of sight when too many people praise your warm energy. Keep in mind all of these things when depression tells you nothing is working. Keep in mind all of these things when it tells you there is no invisible force connecting us, when your veins are stopped by blood clots, when your bones are dry and the water is too quick to boil. Keep in mind all of these things when it tells you that the soul is like the body, made to be broken, open to deterioration and doubt, yes. Keep in mind all of these things and remember, even when it seems like the clock isn't ticking, you were made perfectly for this moment in time.
Welcome back to another episode of the Brown Sugar Cafe podcast, the place where poetry meets conversation. I'm your host, Terrence P. Elmore, and before we get into today's topic, make sure you hit that plus sign so you don't miss an episode. Also, please subscribe to my blog, thebrownssugarcafe.blog, and if you find any value in this episode or any other episodes, make sure you leave a heartfelt review. So with that being said, let's get to it. Welcome back to another episode of the Brown Sugar Cafe podcast. I hope that you all are doing well. I hope that you all are taking care of yourselves. I hope that you all are finding time for self-care. This season has been rolling and the guests just keep coming. Today is like no other. We have a special guest. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
I'm Marcus Amaker, also almost better known as Jordan's husband and Ray's dad. So that is me.
Thank you for coming on. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule to come on the podcast, man. How have you been?
I feel good. I actually don't identify with that word busy. I prioritize rest pretty hard, and even the stuff that I do for work, which is perform, it never feels like work. So I'm proud to say that I am not a busy person. You know, folks can call me a lot of things, but don't call me busy because I'm like super intentional about not being that, especially this year. I feel like it is important with all the stuff that's going on just to prioritize self-care. So I've been good, bro. Like sleeping a lot,
Oh,
uh,
that's good. Yeah.
taking naps. Yeah, like I meditate throughout the day. I mean, it's just a part of my life. So
Oh
yeah.
man, that's awesome. Is that something that you've always practiced or something you've learned along the way?
I've definitely had to learn it along the way. I think with age, that realization has come to me that this is how I would like to sort of play with life a bit. I don't have to keep going and going and going and scrolling and being informed. It's I think the less that I do, the more grounded I feel. So that's where I've been, and this has been a long process for me. I'm still figuring a lot of stuff out, but I've gotten rid of so many things digitally, like just like deleting a bunch of files, a bunch of things that I don't use. So pretty, much like clearing out my life to make space for what is real and what feels good, you know? So,
Wow. Man, that's congratulations. That's major because I know you're into graphic design and you're actually a graphic designer.
mhm.
So that process of removing things just digitally, that's a major step.
Yeah, it was kind of fun because I realized I have so many, or I had so many things on my Dropbox. I just had like gigs and gigs and gigs of stuff, and that was back when I feel like it was sort of useful to save almost everything that you did. But now that, there's so many different systems, particularly with graphic, design,
Yeah.
there's so many different ways to make it easier. I'm like, I don't need to save, the first version of a poster that I designed in 2003. Like I don't need to
Yeah.
save all that stuff. So it was a nice lesson in just select all, delete, and it feels good and it felt good to
Yeah.
do that. So yeah.
Oh man, that's good to hear. A lot of times you hear about people purging things and then they later have this regret because a couple of months from now something comes up and it's like, I had that, but I got rid of it.
Mm,
But I can tell that you're very satisfied with your your
yeah.
decision and following through with it. So yeah, that's awesome,
Word.
man.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank
You are Charleston's first poet laureate.
you.
Let's dive into how did you get started with poetry? And do you remember your first poem?
Yeah, I actually still have my first poem. So I got started in poetry by making music. So I started making music and recording myself when I was 10. And those are the things that I'll never delete. So I have, like files of me that were sung onto cassette tapes, but I digitized those. So yeah, when I was 10, the ages of like 10 to 14, I made all these songs and I'm singing in my young boy voice, that could get pretty high. And then when puberty and high school came, my voice got pretty low and I couldn't sing anymore, but I was still able to write, obviously. So I felt like I was writing these songs, that I couldn't sing anymore, but I could speak them. So that was really one of the first sort of awarenesses that I was writing poems. And at first, I was writing poems just for girls. So it was just for like just trying to get dates and
Oh,
stuff.
yeah.
But then it really became a way for me to process life, process my emotions, process the world, all of these, changes that are going on within myself as well as externally. Poetry has always been there for me, so I've just continued to do that. And then I leaned into being a full time poet, full time artist. Um, at around 2011, I was working at the Post and Courier. I was an editor there, and I decided to leave. I just felt this calling to leave, and it wasn't easy at first financially, but I am here and everything. So after all these years, it has felt good to lean into that. And I received that honor, the Poet Laureate honor, in 2016, which was a beautiful time for me.
Yeah, that whole passion for music and leading you down this path of being an artist, because that's what I consider you. I consider you an artist. I'm sure you consider yourself an artist as well.
Mhm.
I can see your love of music in your poetry. Like it spills out. And it maybe I'm biased because I love music as well,
Word.
but it spills out. One of the many things I appreciate about your poetry is the music elements, and then you touch on heavy subjects. You touch on life subjects. One of the most recent poems that you shared was a poem about AI, which I thought was really cool. I've it's everywhere.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah. It is.
uh, how do you feel about AI as far as being an artist? Because there's so many things that you can do with AI, and I love that it helps us. It's a tool that helps us enhance what we're already doing. I know some people use it as a replacement, which kind of takes away from the whole artistry. But how do you feel about AI?
Yeah. Well, so I feel that yes, it is a tool, and yes, there will be people who will use it to write books. There will be people who use it to write poems, to write movies, to write songs. I'm just choosing not to do that. But it is a tool that people can use. I also feel like, the people like us who are not going to use it in those ways are going to have to get used to the fact that more and more people will be using this tool. But I also feel like we are already in a scary sort of future where, like Google, for instance, if I were to tell my grandfather, if he were still here in physical form, to say, oh man, like I write poems and I research things and type it on Google and then I get all of this information, and he'll be like, what, bro? Like you need to sit and like read a book to get your information. So we have already adopted and adapted to all of these different tools that can make our work go faster. I do believe, though, that AI is sort of a tipping point because it's growing and growing and growing and growing in a way that feels a little dangerous,
Yeah.
to me, because it is really, really normalizing this idea that we can just work, work, work faster. Now I can do all this stuff faster for us. And I feel like that is going to put a lot more work on people because now folks know that you can do things faster. So I think that there's going to be the art of going slow is going to be, this sexy thing, like what's old is new again. I think that being completely human doing things outside of AI is going to be seen as as kind of cool. So, but I am also aware that it is here and it's super smart. And I would hope that its intelligence, quote unquote, would be used to help us find a cure for cancer. I hope that its
Yeah.
intelligence can figure out a way to take better care of the earth, but also there's going to be people who are going to use it to make us buy things as well. So
Yeah.
it is all of the things wrapped into one. Overall, I do feel like the rate at which it is growing seems a little scary to
Yeah.
me.
Me
Um,
too. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's man, because of all the fake videos people have been creating and all of these extortionary tactics people have been using with it is scary. It's I always find that when there's something that can be used for good, that people are always going to find a way to turn it into something bad.
Hmm.
That's just it's always going to be those little bit of people that do that.
Yeah,
And then we're in a society where negative things get spotlighted more than positive things. So that's all that's going to be funneling through. People are going to be talking about the negative aspects. And I love how you brought up that maybe AI could find a cure for cancer or do something to heal the earth. I've never heard anybody bring that up before. Like those are some things that would really that we need that.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
yeah.
And then so I was thinking about that because I watched this interview with the guy who used to work for Google, and he was saying that AI right now is at the IQ of Einstein, so like super, super intelligent.
Yeah.
But within 5 years, it'll be like millions of times smarter than what Einstein was. So if you think about somebody like that being so super intelligent, if their heart is in the right place, they'll be like, oh, yo, this is how you fix this and this is how you fix that, because they will know how to do it. Our brains can't go there. But I also know that, capitalism is a thing. So if
Yeah.
somebody knows that that thing is so smart, it can get us to do things, So,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So all of us are trapped because even me being the hippie that I am, I know that the person next to me might be using it. You know what I mean? So it's up to me to, yeah, to sort of work with that knowledge, knowing that people are going to be using it a lot.
You said also said something else that stuck out when you were saying that taking things slow will probably be looked upon as the new cool. And
Hmm.
I immediately thought about the resurgence of vinyl.
So
how
yeah, yeah,
it kind of almost went away, and now, I mean, it's more expensive now, speaking about capitalism, but
yeah, yeah,
you could find vinyl more easily now, and that's become something that's cool. I even saw something recently where people are also putting music and things on cassette tapes again.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I'm like, wow, because I still have some of my old cassette tapes in a box and I've
So,
never gotten I don't have anything to play them with, but I still have them,
but you
you
still
know?
have, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And
That's,
speaking about music, man, you've produced over 40 albums?
only, yeah, yeah, only for,
Yeah. Wow. How did you get started? What was I mean, we talked about, as a child, that's where your love for poetry began, but what made you actually say that I'm going to record this and put it out there?
wow. So, when I was younger, making all those tapes, because I have about 7 tapes or so of me as a kid making up songs and singing songs, and these are all original songs. They aren't really that good, but they're all, just songs that I'm just singing. And then I stopped. And then when I moved to Charleston, in 2003, I realized that there were sort of fun ways to make music. Again, it seemed like it was a little bit cumbersome when I was a kid. Like you had to have a blank tape and like put tape over the
Yeah.
thing and make sure that it records. And if I messed up a song, then you have to rewind. Like it was just a lot. And even in 2003, which is a while ago, I was like, oh, there's all these really cool apps and tools that I can use, and it made experimenting a lot more fun. And now I don't make music on a MacBook like I do it on synthesizers, and I just upload it to a MacBook. So it's even easier for me now to create. My big thing is that I want to have some sort of way to document this creative brain that God
Mhm.
gave me, like,
Yeah.
and iPhones are really great for that, as problematic as they are. Like, it's so easy to document a song or to make a song or to get a little, synthesizer and make a beat. So the ease at which music can be made has really been helpful for me because I never stop. Like it's just something that I've been doing again since I was 10. So somebody might first started to cook when they were like 7 years old, and now they just cook all the time, and it's just easy for them.
Yeah.
Making music like that is like that. It's almost hard to explain it to folks if they aren't in that space. But I think everybody has that thing that you did as a kid that you just naturally do. And music is always mine. So yeah, sometimes I look up and I look at my website or at my Dropbox. I'm like, wow, I've produced a lot of music.
Yeah.
I'm like, it's just what I do. It's just and it's fun. It's just fun to
Yeah.
experiment that way too. Because creating music brings out a side of me that is completely free, and I really appreciate that. With the title that I had, I realized that a lot of eyes are on my poetry, and I think about the audience from time to time. But with music, there's just this sense of freedom that is there that I don't have in any other creative expression. Yeah.
You had a event for the release of your book, Hold What Makes You Whole, and I was fortunate enough to attend that. And you had some musical elements in there, which I thought was really dope. I've never seen anything like that before. The experience was really cool. How did you get the idea to put that whole thing together? And was it as easy as just producing an album, or did you find any challenges with that?
Yeah, so I've always thought of a poetry book as not just a poetry book, or like an album is not just an album. Like these projects have the space within them to be other things. So if I release a book, there's going to be a music element to it. There's going to be some videos, to it as well. I'm always
Yeah.
telling students, it's like, you can dress your poem up in different clothes. The poem will still be the poem, but it can also be a song, it can also be a spoken word piece, it can, there's a lot of ways that you can present a poem. And if a poem is just on the page, that is completely fine. But when I'm conceptualizing, a book or any sort of project, I'm thinking of all of the ways that that concept can be used. So yeah. So when I thought about, oh, I'm going to do a book release, I'm like, oh yeah, well, that should have some music to it too. I should do the poems as like an electronic song, or I should, just expand on it, because I think that poetry as an art form is such a flexible and malleable art form. You can make it whatever you want. And if it's just on the page, that's completely cool. But I love to experiment and expand, and just honor that whole creation, because it takes a lot to write a book. So once it's out, I'm like, ooh, like how can this thing play more? How can it have a lot more fun in the world? So I think about that often.
Yeah, when I attended that event, it was so interesting to me because I had been thinking about that sort of thing, and I was just like, I need to try to bring some visual elements to my poetry and different things that I'm doing. And then to see that, I was like, wow, this is kind of what I was thinking. And
Oh,
it
word.
it works.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And I really loved how you had the young people share their poems.
Hmm.
When I tell you, I was like, my mouth was open a lot of the times hearing them, and with so much passion, and it felt like so much wisdom at a young age. You go into schools all the time and you teach students poetry. What is one thing about that you can say surprised you when you began that process?
Mm. I love that question. So I'm, happy to say that I got my butt kicked a lot when I was in school, when I was first going into schools, and that in a gentle way. But I would go in and then I would just read to them, and then there wasn't a lot of, in engagement there. It'd be
Yeah.
like, oh, that poem's great. Then I would leave, and that was it.
Yeah.
But I'm not in this for an ego trip. Like I want people to be, reminded that they are creative as well. So once I started sort of loosening that ego hold a bit, it allowed space for students to share their work as well. And then I started to publish poems from students, and just seeing what they were writing, there's an awareness there that's so much deeper than me at that age.
Yeah.
But I still think that people don't feel like they have an outlet for their work beyond what's on your phone. And again, that's completely fine if you write and you just have it for yourself. That can be a very healing experience. But I can tell when some students, like, they need to be heard.
Yeah.
So here I am with this privilege of having these stages, opened up for me. The microphone is on. So I'm like, oh, I might as well have somebody else come up here too. And I think it is even more, yeah, impactful when it is somebody who is younger, because I think that there's a little click in people's brains being like, oh, wow, if they can do it, then I can do it too. And they're so young, but also knowing that, wow, if they're writing like this in high school, imagine how they will write if they continue that process, when they get to be old, like me, So I think that it is important to just nurture that, because we need artists, like we talked about AI, but that has the power to drown out a lot of creativity. So, I'm always going to encourage people to be artists and share their work, especially young artists. It's really important, and I learn a lot from listening to them. It
Me
it
too.
helps
Yeah.
it helps me to rewrite things and go, oh wow, like they are going there, so I can go there too. Like it's a, yeah, it's a beautiful thing that happens.
Yeah, it's like we had a freeness when we were younger, but it seems like our freeness kind of, I wouldn't say capped, but kind of got sort of a filtered at a certain age.
Mm,
And
yeah,
then with younger generations, it's like that filter area moved a little higher to
yeah,
where it may never really exist, and they still say whatever's on their mind. They still say what they feel, and
yeah.
I really appreciate that because growing up, it was always you couldn't say certain things because you were a child, and there
Mhm.
was no explanation for how certain things were. You just do it because
Yeah.
I said so.
Yeah, we could talk about that. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And that's and I honor the way that a lot of us were raised and a lot of yeah, particularly black folk. Like
Yeah,
we grew up in a culture that told us that we can't say stuff, so I completely honor that. But I also have realized I'm like, oh, it's so freeing to be able to just speak, like whatever is in your intuitive heart at that moment, that has honor and that has value, so it is
yeah.
important. Yeah.
You also are a publisher of two children's books.
I've got well, I've published one, and I've got another one on my hard drive
Okay,
that
okay.
might be, yeah, released at some point. I'll figure that out.
Yeah, how was that process, man?
Yeah, yeah, that was dope. I did a book called Black Music Is, and I'm, because I'm such a music fan.
Yeah,
It's about a cat that listens to a lot of different genres, and each of these genres of music, so blues, bluegrass, rap, rock, music, those were all very heavily influenced, if not started by Black folk.
yeah,
So, but it was important for me to write about artists that people might not know about. I think it would have been easy to write about Michael Jackson or James Brown or something, but I thought that it was just as equally important to
yeah.
write about Bessie Smith, to write about our native daughters, and there's a lot of great artists who are out there, who are making really great music, and I just wanted it to be sort of a fun educational tool, and it was really fun for me, and I won a fellowship from the Academy of American Poets, and I used some of that to give those books to schools for free, so that felt good to
Oh,
me as well.
yeah.
And yeah, and I released that book 4 years ago, and I'm still doing shows like around it, so like reading to kids and playing music and stuff. It's been fun. Yeah.
I checked the book out. I really dug it too. And like I said, I might be biased because I love music, but
Mm.
I thought it was
Or
cool.
Oh, all right, thank you. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, I just think and it challenged me in a way because writing a quote unquote kids book, like my initial thought was to kind of like dumb it down or, have really simple language, but then it's like no, like I just feel like just be yourself. It's the subject is more important in my mind than like how it's written or whatever. So yeah, so I had a little bit of a challenge there to make it like super easy rhymes and stuff. But I'm like, no, I'm gonna put a little bit of like complication in it and stuff and just make it a really sort of a deep book. So yeah.
Yeah, I think a lot of times some adults they underestimate children, and even with I remember growing up seeing people talk to little kids and babies with like the baby voice,
Mm.
and
Oh
it's
yeah.
like they're in this developmental stage. They're trying to absorb and learn. You should be talking to them like an adult so they can pick
Yeah.
that up.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that is so true. I mean, I even talk to my cat like it's like an adult. Like I just think that yeah, just speak like you would speak because they're smarter than you think. Um
Yeah.
yeah. But
Days.
that's a great point because they're soaking that up, and I don't want, folks to think, "Oh, this is how people talk," or whatever.
Yeah, because one of the things And it's not a knock to anybody who does this, but when
Yeah.
people would do like double words like eat, eat, and spoon, spoon, I'm like, why are you saying that twice to this child?
Yeah, right on. Save your breath, yeah.
Right.
Love it. I love it.
You're a father of a is she 5 now?
She's 5, yep.
Wow, time has really gone by, man. How
Yeah.
has your look on the world, music, poetry, and arts in general changed during this process of her from birth to being 5 now?
Yeah. Oh, wow. I so one thing that was important for me, and this is not particularly with art, but it really helped me to look at my health and make sure that I'm taking care of myself. So I deepened my relationship with my therapist. After I became a dad, went to the dentist. I mean, just all these things that I had just not done. I'm just like, no,
Yeah,
I'm just not going to do that. And I'm like, no, like get your teeth checked, like get your health in order. Just make sure that you are coming to this, fully aware and fully like intentional. So with that came better art in my mind, like I'm more rested. So it has helped me to be more focused with my art because a lot of energy is used being a dad, especially of a 5-year old. Like it takes a lot of energy. So when I have time alone, time to myself, like I really work on my writing, on my art, on my music, and I'm a lot more focused now. I think in the past it would just sort of happen and it would just be this beautiful inspiration and stuff, but I'm like, no, I'm going to really work on it and sharpen that. So that's been really great as well. And also the non-sexy part of being a full-time artist, like the like LLC things, like taxes and things like that. I'm like, oh, I have to really be just smarter about this because this is legacy now. Like
yeah.
I want Ray to benefit from these poems that I'm writing after I'm gone, so things are set up in a way that that is happening now. So that feels really good to me. And then that was a hard piece because it's not like they teach you that, like you have to
Yeah.
kind of learn it. But I was able to sort of learn from other artists who have been doing it longer than me, like how to get your publishing, things like that. So yeah, it's been a cool journey. A lot of it doesn't make sense, like some of it that doesn't make sense to me, like publishing and all that. But it's all set up now in a way that's more beneficial for me financially as well as for the family. So that's important to me.
Oh, man. Well, we're thankful for Ray being born.
Yeah, word.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I was just yeah. I mean, and like whatever, it's all good. But I used to just put songs out, put all these poems out, and not have any sort of tie to it. Like folks could have used these songs and like remixed them and all this stuff. But I
Wow.
just okay. I'm like now I
Yeah.
have publishing and all of that. So anyway,
Yeah.
yeah.
Man,
So
that's a beautiful thing. That's something, I never thought about. Of course, I don't have a body of work as as extensive, but, things like that matter because I was having a conversation with my mother the other day. It's a guy I know, he was one of my past guests, Eric Harrison, and he was saying how his father found a chair in an alley, took it and reupholstered it, and that developed into a business, and this was in
oh
Chicago. And he
wow.
said he had a big furniture business, but there wasn't anybody showing him how to handle the books or
Mm,
anything like that. And it was a lot of paying under the table, like government officials and stuff to kind of get things pushed through.
huh,
And he eventually lost everything because his finances weren't straight, the property taxes and things weren't straight.
wow.
And, my mother and I were talking about it, how a lot of things get lost because there's no planning for the next generation as far as this is how things are laid out. This is the business. This is what we have. This is how the books work and that sort of thing. It's not really looked at. And to hear that you thought about publishing and legacy, that's
Mm,
important because that's something that you will be able to leave to her, and a lot of our people that don't have things that our parents or our grandparents had because nobody took the time to get those things straight. And we were talking about, I can't remember, somebody else who had a similar situation that lost something because they didn't prepare for their children.
Wow. Yeah, yeah, and it's yeah, and and I completely get it because it's not, yeah, that world and doing that isn't an easy world. Like once you start to get into, these websites and how to set up, an LLC and do an S corp instead of a, there's just all these different terms that in my like opinion they are intentionally confusing,
I think so too.
but
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, but it helped me to meet folks who are like me, who are, artists as well, who have done similar things. And I just ask questions. I'm like, bro, like I'm in my mid, 40s. I need to figure out how to do this stuff. And then folks, they'll let me know. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely a thing, particularly for us, for Black folk, because we weren't encouraged in any way to leave any sort of legacy, so I just think that it is important to do that, yeah, yeah, it's just important to do that.
Yeah. Speaking of legacy, you wrote a opera.
Yeah.
Man, that's that's
Obviously, right? No, I'm
yeah.
just kidding. No,
What
I
was that process like? And
yeah.
yeah, like how did you I don't know. I don't even know how to ask this question. Like, how did you come up with like, hey, I want to write opera?
So I'll give you the long story kind of short-ish. Um So a long time ago, I started a YouTube channel, and I started my first website in the '90s. So I've been putting stuff online for a long time. So, my online presence, I would say, is pretty big just because I just kept uploading stuff. So a black composer in Chicago found my work on YouTube, and it was an older video that I've done. And he was like, "Man, I'm doing an album for black opera singers singing poems by black poets." So I said, "Hell yeah, I want to be,
Yeah.
a part of this." So I wrote a poem for this project, and I didn't know because I don't know anything about opera. I'm still learning, even though
Yeah.
I'm in the world. And then turns out that the brother that sang my poem is a big time opera singer. Will Liverman is his name. So he's performed at the Kennedy Center, at the Met, like just all these places. So I started seeing my name, like in the Washington Post. I started seeing my name, New York Times, the Guardian, like all of these places started to write about me. Like I got all these pings on Google. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. So this project, it was like number one on the Billboard charts. Like there was a Grammy nomination for it. So after that, I did another project with that yeah composer, and then when that hit it big, I went to an opera agent, and I was like, "Hey, like, do you want to represent me?" Because
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know anything about opera, but now I have this resume from working with Sean. So the agent said yes. So she put my name in front of other opera houses. So that was how I got that gig. But yeah, I got to write an opera for the Chicago Opera Theater. That yeah premiered last year. It was called The Weight of Light, and it was the best experience I've had as an artist because we worked on it for 2 years. And I'm used to, like, I write a thing, maybe I'll edit it for like a week or so, and then it's out. So to be able to write something and work on it for 2 years, it meant that by the time it went up on stage, it was perfect, because there was so many edits made, so many little tweaks that the composer and I were making. It ended up being just such a beautiful experience. And yeah, so and writing, I wrote the lyrics for it, and that
Okay.
was a challenge for me because I write for my voice, as a spoken word poet. but to write it for somebody else's voice and having to change words because they might not be able to sing a long word, they might need to take a breath. So there were just like super details like that I had to learn. But it was dope. It was a super dope experience. Yeah.
Man, congratulations.
Thank you.
Man,
Thank you. Yeah. Yeah,
that
thank you.
is
Yeah.
pretty cool.
And actually, after this call, I'm on another call for a commission in Baltimore. I'm going to do an opera about climate change.
Oh,
So yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So we're about to start the process on another opera, which is fun. So, but like, when I'm doing my songs as a kid when I was 10, I never thought, oh, one day I'm going to write opera. It was just like the opportunity came and I said yes. So yeah.
Oh man, yeah, that is I've been to maybe one opera, watch a couple, but I never really thought about, writing an opera and just
Mm.
seeing you do it. I'm just like, man, that's pretty cool because it's also I think as artists, we always need to find ways to push ourselves. I wouldn't say find ways, but it's always good to do something that you've never done before.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, I think that is super important and it challenges me and it pushes people, that can push you in a way that you didn't think that you could go and it's not easy all the time. I mean, it's going to be hard sometimes, but like to see the end product, it really does make sense why, we edit and go through all this work and it's funny to even think about it because that was prior to AI the way that it can be used now. And I
Yeah.
and I think about I'm like, oh, a lot of that would have been quote unquote easy if I would have, used AI. But I'm like, no, there was something about that process of even the frustrating parts that are useful. I don't want everything to be so easy, like
Right.
it's yeah, yeah. So yeah.
Yeah, I was listening to an interview the other day, and the artist was saying that when they do things at a certain point, they want to push past what they've already done
Mm,
because it just feels like repetitive. Even with, I've heard writers say that when they're writing books, to try to write something different from the first book, something
yeah.
different from the second book, and so on and so on. You're 10 books in. So,
Hmm. Only 10, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and I have 3 that are done on my hard drive right now that I'm just waiting for the right sort of moment,
Yeah.
but the opera has really taught me to, hold on to things, a
Mm,
bit. Just because it's written doesn't mean it automatically has to go out, so I'm just, what I've been doing lately is, I'll write a thing, um he like print it up even so just I have a copy and then I'll just sit with it for a while. And if
yeah.
it still feels good after like a month and I'm like, all right, other folks can have it too, so
What?
yeah.
Three just waiting.
Yeah.
Man,
Oh
that's
yeah. Oh yeah. They are there.
wow. You were just inducted into the South Carolina Literary Hall of Fame. Congratulations on
Yeah,
that.
thank you. Yeah, that was dope. Yeah, yeah, that was dope. So I one like I never I'm still not in it for awards and things
Right.
like that, and so it feels good when that happens. But also, I've mentioned this a few times to other people, but like I've done that as a self-published poet, as a self-published author, and I've said this so many times, but I definitely remember when I was first going to open mics and I published my first book and people would tell me that, "Oh, like, oh, you self-published?" Like, there was just this sort of, like, this
Yeah.
negative connotation to it as if that is the first step or I'm not doing enough or something, but I just never felt like the old school model of sending it out somewhere and waiting for them to tell you no was meant for me. I'm like, "It's written, let me just get it out," So,
Yeah.
the fact that this has happened for me as a self-published poet hopefully inspires other people. Not that again, you need to get an award, but at least it is a validation that this is also a way to do it. Yeah. So that was a big deal for me. It really feels good. So
Yeah, being self-published myself, I felt the same way. I never even thought about just sending it off, and I remember when I published my first book, people were asking me like, "Well, who did you publish with?" I'm like, "I self-published," and it was like,
publish it
"Well,
on
what happened?" Yeah, they were like, "What happened? Did you get rejected a couple of times?" I was like, "No, I just."
yeah, I just wanted to get it out. Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to get it out. I felt like I had something that I wanted to share with people, and that just came to mind. I didn't even like even now, I'm working on another book. I'm not thinking about trying to submit it somewhere. I want to get it out, and I want it
Yeah.
to reach the people who need it.
Yeah, yeah, and that's such a beautiful way to think of it, I think. And again, like if somebody wants to get published, that is, by another company, that is great.
Oh
I mean,
yeah,
if
perfectly fine.
yeah, I mean, if Penguin Random House calls, I will pick up the
Of
phone,
course.
I
Yeah.
will pick up the damn phone. But also, when I think about musicians, they put their stuff on Spotify, on Bandcamp, on all types of stuff without even thinking about it, and and like nobody goes to them and go like, "Why didn't you put it on? Why didn't you
Yeah.
go for like a record label?" It's like, no, I just wanted to get it out on SoundCloud. Like, what's the point? Like that's what it is for. We have that ability as well, but it's still looked upon as sort of this thing. It's like, oh, you
Yeah.
self-published. I'm like, yeah, I self-published and I'm in the Hall of Fame, fool.
Yeah,
Anyway. Um,
exactly. This is
yeah,
what
so
self-publishing can do. So,
yeah, yeah, right. So yeah, so I just hope that inspires,
yeah.
students and other folks because it's pretty, I wouldn't say it's easy to publish, but that process is available to us and it's getting easier and easier to do, through
Yeah.
apps and stuff. So, yeah.
Before I let you get out of here, do you have any final thoughts or anything before I let you get out of here?
Um, yeah, just be here now. That's all that I'll say. Yeah, just try to people just try to be present with what you are feeling and what you're going through and your journey as an artist and know that that is okay. All of it is okay. I get caught in sort of thinking about next thing and the next thing and the next thing and I'm like, oh, like what I've done already is also good, so just I'm teaching myself to honor the stuff that I already have done instead of always trying to create the next thing. So that's been useful for me and hopefully that's useful for other people. Just be where you are now and that is all good.
Let the people know how they can reach out to you, how they can support your work, or any other information you want to share.
Yeah, I'm on Instagram, but you don't have to follow me. I don't really care about that, but I'm Charleston Poet on Instagram and you can go to my website charlestonpoet.com and that has a link to all of my yeah, music and videos and design and all that stuff. So
Okay, well, Marcus, I want to thank you for taking the time out of your schedule that you make yourself and
work.
joining us and sharing a little bit about yourself. We're gonna have to do this again because I have a ton of questions and this yeah, I can go on and on. But
All right.
I really
Thank
appreciate
you.
you, yeah, for
Yeah.
coming on the show. And to my listeners, remember as always, keep pushing forward. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Brown Sugar Cafe podcast. Once again, I'm your host, Terrence P. Elmore, and this is the place where poetry meets conversation. Hit that follow button and turn on your notifications so you won't miss an episode. Check out my blog, thebrownsugarcafe.blog. Also connect with me on Instagram at thebrownsugarcafe. Hope you enjoyed this episode, and as always, remember, keep pushing forward.